Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. It's another second round of the casting call. I'm sitting here with Lee Cruz, who's completely normal, and we are joined by these two contestants, Josh and Jolene. Let's get started. Now, the LPGA recently announced that they have restrictions on what female golfers can wear. They were worried that there were too much neckline shown, skirts were too high, and they now have restrictions so that the game will not be quite as sexy. I'll start with you, Josh. When I think sexy, I think of the casting call. Do you agree with the LPGA's decision?
No, this to me seems like one of those things where at high schools, girls' dress codes are really strict, but the guys can wear wife beaters and shorts and flip-flops and get away with whatever they want to. Golf is a conservative sport, so I get that. People threw a fit when Tiger wore a turtleneck 15 years ago. Those times have gotten past, but it seems like this is just a bunch of conservative old people wanting to stick to the way things have always been, just because that's the way they've always been, which is a terrible reason to do anything.
Well, I have to agree with you, but I want to know who this bothers. I want to know who's complaining about this. I mean, what is I really don't see, who would raise the big question. And if they're trying to get more women and younger people involved in golf, I think they're going about it the wrong way by staying stuffy and stilted. And the ridiculous restrictions. You can wear a racerback tank if it has a collar, but not if it's collarless. And the short skirts, I mean, why can't you wear a short skirt if you're golfing like tennis? You should be able to.
And golf is a country club sport, I get that, but have you ever seen a beach volleyball match or any volleyball match? Right?
I have, they're nice. Jolene, let me ask you though, isn't that, maybe they want the focus to be on the golfers and not just to make sex objects out of the players?
Well, I still think they're trying to, if they're trying to get young people and if they're trying to enliven the sport, I think they should loosen up on the strictness. I just think it's so strict and rather ridiculous. And if they're going to have these rules, then somebody needs to swoop in and they have to outlaw the madras and the patchwork quilt and the pink and the green preppy pants, the man pants. I mean, that's just...
Okay. Josh, what about the sort of idea that you said men's clothes are always usually conservative in golf? Isn't part of this the sort of objectification of the women's body?
I think you could make that argument if somebody was putting the women in these clothes, but presumably these golfers are wearing what they feel comfortable playing in, and if that's the case, I find it hard to swoop in from the outside and say, no, this thing that you've chosen has made you a sex object. It seems like they've got the agency to make that call and
all right,
not
there
listen
you go.
to me.
All right, let's switch gears now. The Governor Matt Bevin recently announced his plan to help fix violence in the west end of Louisville. He said that he wanted people from other parts of the city to come and adopt streets and walk the streets in those areas. And he said it could be fixed with a heavy dose of prayer. Jolene, do you agree that this is a good system to solve violence in the West End?
I do not. And I am pro-prayer. I'm all for prayer. I think it does wonderful things. I think the Reverend Timothy Finley from Louisville said it best. He said, we've been praying a long time, but now it's time for government to come in and offer some practical help. They need funding for jobs. They need youth centers, they need education. I think it sounds irresponsible and dangerous. I mean, he said like in groups of 3 to 10 and walk in these dangerous neighborhoods with, armed only with prayer. I don't think that that's reasonable, and I think it's not good.
I want to be forgiving of Governor Bevin and say, I think his heart's in the right place. I think he's a man of faith and that's a legitimate part of his life. And I think he should exercise that and do the things that he talks about, making prayer walks in these places and lending that part of his life. But he's not the state chaplain, he's the governor. And so in addition to these suggestions, which again, I think are great and people should take him up on that if they feel like that's something they can do to help their community. But ultimately, policy is going to play a huge role in solving these problems. And if he's in a position to bring legislators together to get laws passed that might address some gun violence issues, that might solve some of these problems in a practical way, I think it would tell everybody, not just the faith communities, that he's really got these neighborhoods' best interests at heart.
I'm going to stop you right there. First of all, well done. I thought in terms of actually arguing, that was the best one we've had in terms of the arguments on both sides. Very well done. Lee, thoughts?
Well, this may be one of the best debates we've had because both of you were well armed with facts and descriptiveness. This is going to be a tough call, but I think both of you would make great additions.
All right, so pick one.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I think Jolene ran in somewhat of a buzzsaw because Josh, in his sense of brevity, the way every sentence was charged with a lot of power because of his articulation. So I'm going to go with Josh on this one.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think Josh is probably the best one we've had, but I'm going to take you both. Jolene, I'm going to use my veto to move you to the next round.